Hey, thanks for joining us for Pact. I'm the P, Peter Coffin. The lovely Miss Astronaut Cowboy Doctor. Right here is the ACD. Together that spells Pact. Don't miss an episode. Subscribe on YouTube, Spotify, or your favorite podcast service. Also, leave us a glowing review on Apple Podcasts or Audible, or else. Help us keep the lights on by becoming a patron at patreon.com/pactpod. That's PACDPOD. Your monthly support gets you into our Discord server, gets you exclusive content, and you see some content before everyone else. We have got fantastic Pact merchandise available as well. Finally, tell your friends. We rely so big on word of mouth. We stream 7 p.m. Eastern every Saturday. Thank you tons for tuning in. So everybody, you should not work on October 15th because that would be crossing the picket lines.
All
So
right.
there is a general strike that people are calling for on social media for October 15th. The accounts that have gone up are calling for the following demands. This is from the actual official page for the general strike. They want a 25% corporate tax rate with no loopholes, free health care for all, 12 weeks paid paternity and maternity leave, $20 minimum wage. Would take it happily. I'd go work as a janitor for $20 an hour. 4-day work week. I mean, if you're pairing it with all these other things, absolutely. I mean, if you're not, then no. Stricter environmental regulations on corporations. Cool. If you support any or all of these goals, stand in solidarity with us on October 15th by taking off work. What you can do. This is still, again, directly from their website. Abstain from going into work on October 15th. Do not participate in any economic activity starting on October 15th. Now, before we go anywhere, that's completely impossible.
Yeah. Those two things paired together are the most anti-worker fucking things you could ever see.
But the next one really gives away the game because you're doing those things ostensibly to push forward some kind of agenda, right?
Right.
The third entry on the list of what you can do is contact your local representatives to express our demands. Big thing. That always accomplishes, like, when you need something to change, that's who you contact. Your representatives.
So they can literally run to get nothing for you.
Oh, can we get the balloon?
Oh, yeah.
We were literally running, sprinting to the Capitol. Sprinting. Literally so that we could do the vote with them. So what we need to do, put pressure on your representatives.
All right. So what's the fourth thing that we can do to support this general strike?
Spread the word and inform your family, friends, and colleagues about the strike. So, the same tactic you would use to get a band a few fans.
Yeah. Tell your friends about Metallica.
Tell your friends about Pact.
Yeah. Yeah.
We could use a few fans. And then increase class consciousness by educating those around you through our Learn page, which, by the way, I looked at the Learn page. There's no theory or anything about class, or it's just basically a bunch of literature specifically about this strike.
What? I don't even know. I didn't even go to the Learn page because they have nothing to teach me.
Well, they have a few flyers that are about the general strike on the Learn page. Nice. And then some outlines and stuff about the types of things that you can get from a strike. And also about what to look out for when doing a strike, etc. Stuff that doesn't really increase class consciousness. If you plan on participating, sign the petition so others can get an idea of our collective strength.
So how many people have signed the petition?
Oh, hold on. I checked their, by the way, change.org hosted petition. And 17,000 people had signed it, which is not a small amount of people, but out of the United States of America.
Another problem is that, a general strike could be localized to a city. It could be localized to a state. It could be localized to a specific group of workers and a a definitive region. But this doesn't even have
No.
that call to it. It's not even targeting a population.
So a general strike, and this is the Wikipedia entry on general strike, the most simple version of it you're going to find. A general strike is a strike action in which a substantial proportion of the total labor force in a city, region, or country participates. General strikes are characterized by the participation of workers in a multitude of workplaces and tend to involve entire communities. If you're interested in a little bit of the history, the first theorist to formulate and popularize the idea of a general strike for the purpose of political reform was the radical pamphleteer named William Benbow, who was a nonconformist preacher, pamphleteer, publisher, and pornographer. So he had the alliteration thing going.
His career is like a self-written Princess Carolyn line.
Yeah. Benbow.
Benbow does sound like an app.
I agree.
It sounds like lesbian grinder.
I don't know why, but I agree with you. I entirely agree with you.
Yeah.
Benbow was a prominent figure in the Reform movement, which was an upper middle class, straightforwardly liberal movement in Manchester and London.
Classic, like, utopian socialist profile.
Yeah.
And so 17,000 people. Let's go off the assumption that most of these signatures are from the United States. Well, there are about 330 million people in the United States. I think this is the easiest way to imagine it. So imagine, let's just say, for simplicity, for the sake of argument, that you evenly across the United States, according to population density, spread out that 17,000 people. That's 17,000 workers. That's like a few people saying that they're not going to work in their respective areas. Senior skip day is more coordinated. Exactly.
Yes.
This isn't connected to a union. This isn't connected to an organization. It explicitly is not.
Yeah.
It says this is not connected to any organization, but has about 17,000 signatures from Facebook and whatever.
Yeah. But let's say you concentrated that entire 17,000 people to New York.
Mm-hmm.
That
was the exact second half of what I was going to say.
That's not a huge strike.
If you consolidated those 17,000 people in Manhattan or New York City, that would not be a significant withdrawal of labor. And again, in their respective areas. So, like, different industries have no organization behind this. This took us down on memory lane. I believe about a year ago, the call for academic workers to go on strike, it was specifically directed towards racial injustice, like withdrawing our labor because of the injustices that have been happening in the carceral system, health inequities related to COVID, all of these things. It was the same thing. It was, Facebook, it was circulated through email to us, and it's like, hey, I heard about the strike, are you gonna do it? And I responded to all my faculty members, I was like, fucking no. I'm a clinician for underserved populations, I am a health inequity researcher in chronic illness. Me taking the day off is like so directly antagonistic to the goals that we're saying that we're achieving by just like taking the day off as academics. It's the most sanctimonious, masturbatory in a bad way thing I've ever heard of.
Today, instead of allowing them to have racism and stuff, I'm going to eat McDonald's twice while I binge watch series on Netflix.
What are they genuinely doing?
Yeah, you're not like, you can, again.
Well, here, I'll tell you what they're fucking doing. They're going on hashtag Twitter Academia and talking about how they're not working that day because they support workers.
Their whole hand right up their own asshole.
Like the power fist, but like in your butt.
Yeah.
And the reason that it took us down memory lane is because I actually asked Peter, I was like, this seems like bullshit. Like, what do you think about this? And then we just had the conversation that we are having right now.
So part of the reason why it matters if you strike is because you have a meaningful amount of labor to withhold in a specific place where withholding it makes a difference. To take it one step further, you have like a demonstration. You have the striking workers show up in front of a place so that everyone knows it's a strike. That's why they have signs. You see striking workers holding up traffic. They make noise, they yell things, and like it's inconvenient. So let's say everybody in your department or everybody in your university was going to go on strike to where it would be noticeable. It would screw things up.
Right. And what does that do when you're encouraging a general strike among 17,000 people who have signed off on this, and then you have like those few people in a given area not showing up to work? You get those workers fired.
Yeah. Here's the other thing. Let's say you're a worker who like works at some non-unionized workplace, and you say, hey, I'm taking the day off for a general strike. You know what that does? That flags you as a fucking like
as a threat.
Lefty commie unionizer.
Yeah.
You're the problem in the non-union employer's eyes from that point forward. So to anybody out there listening, use DoorDash on the 31st. This is going to be an example of why just virally spreading, strikes and stuff doesn't actually organize them.
It seemed to be one day.
Yeah, it was also a one day.
Just the 31st, which like, what the fuck?
If you did use DoorDash on the 31st, that makes you a scab because they were striking. Or probably a few thousand of them were striking all over the place.
Again, across the country.
Without a picket line, without a meaningful demonstration, without a team negotiating those demands with DoorDash. Anyway, here's the viral DoorDash boycott post. DoorDash boycott, July 31st, all day. This is our strategy. We know some of us rely on this income for trying to make ends meet. Start registering for Uber Eats and prepare to use it only on July 31st instead of DoorDash. So they're not even not working. That's
also that is so antithetical to any solidarity whatsoever.
Yeah, that's really dumb.
People who are exclusively driving for Uber Eats get fucked by that.
Yeah.
Which again just speaks to the complete disorganization and also atomization of workers and like groups of workers from one another, and why these general strikes don't fucking work. So here's where the Industrial Reserve Army comes in. Do you think that there aren't like thousands, millions of other people who could use a job and immediately fill those workers' places? DoorDash isn't going to run out of workers.
Yeah, and those new workers don't have to know that that you did your little viral strike in order to try to get the wages higher.
And they probably won't.
It won't be part of the training materials, that's for sure.
Most workers aren't fucking Twitter poisoned.
No, most workers are not fucking Twitter poisoned, that's true. This is not any kind of support to Uber Eats, they say, as they get ready to make money for Uber Eats. We can fight one giant at a time. We can fight and not hurt our own pockets. Did the strike work out? Well, according to a statement DoorDash made to NPR, they called the strikers a vocal minority and continued, DoorDash is proud to provide flexible, low-barrier earning opportunities for Dashers while helping restaurants grow their businesses. On average, nationally, Dashers work fewer than 4 hours a week and earn over $25 an hour while they're on delivery, including 100% of their tips.
In other words, shit, I don't care either. And the thing is also is even like well-organized strikes can fail.
Yes, absolutely.
Shit like this that isn't a real strike is definitely going to fail.
This is, again, like a small portion of DoorDash workers taking the day off. Not even taking the day off. Doing their work on a different app.
Yeah.
Take the Uber Eats workers out of the equation. You are screwing those people, by the way, by reducing the amount of work that they have available to them. Take that out of the equation. The point of striking and demonstrating is to show we're willing to go without.
Yeah.
In order to prove to you that it is important for us to have this increase in our work life. This is important to us to the point that we are willing to withhold our labor. This does not meaningfully demonstrate that.
Isn't not working for DoorDash just not turning on the app that day?
Yes. Like the academic worker strike would mean not going to any meetings. It would mean not doing any notes or labor or research or any of that.
Yeah.
I mean, you'd still be ultimately just people deciding that they're going to stay home and watch Netflix and eat fast food. But this is even less than that.
Right. Big I declare bankruptcy energy when Twitter talks of general strikes. That's 100% what that is.
So
it feels like we're being condescending to people who want to do small strikes. I don't talk about politics to appease the feelings of individuals. I talk about politics to determine what's effective and what's not.
Exactly.
This is not effective.
Yeah, I want to go ahead and say, like, these small strikes.
They're not strikes.
They're horse shit. Do not do this.
Yeah, I want people to stop doing this and to organize.
Politics is not about your feelings. It is not about how good you feel about the things you do.
That's the main thing, is that these small strikes are to feel good.
They are.
They know that this is not going to work on their organizations. They know that these are multinational corporations.
Absolutely.
It's these small strikes are as effective as voting.
Less, I'd even go ahead and say.
Well,
they take place in an arena which is totally unaware. Like, it cannot even be used as like a means to educate.
That's true. Yeah.
We're angry at unorganized viral strikes.
We're angry at people calling strikes or calling just not going to work an effective strike for a day.
Or let's just say you stop going to work altogether. That still doesn't communicate demands. It doesn't negotiate those demands with the employer, blah, blah, blah. It doesn't accomplish the kind of thing that it sets out to do. And people go, oh, so strikes are fucking ineffective and worth none of my time. It's not about small strikes versus big strikes. It's about things that are not strikes calling themselves strikes.
Yeah. It's not about the size or the length of the strike.
Like, frankly...
It's not about size or length. It's knowing how to use it. We're talking about strikes that don't know how to use it. And if you know how to use it and it's bigger and longer, probably better too. That is like kind of an effective metaphor, though. It's silly. But like it isn't about it that is a factor.
Yeah.
But we're not talking per se about the size and the length of these strikes or whether they're like small means that it's ineffective. We're saying that these are things that are being labeled as strikes that are qualitatively ineffective. We're speaking qualitatively, not quantitatively.
Exactly. The 2021 FritoLay Strike said, "I'm sorry my strike is so big."
Huh?
To continue your metaphor.
Oh man. All right. Here's some hope for you at the end. This is a Marxist text. We talk about the gravity of the situation and how bad things are. And then we end with a ray of hope.
So, the 2021 FritoLay strike was a labor strike in Kansas, where the FritoLay plant is. The reasons for the strike, according to the union that did it, the Bakery, Confectionery, Tobacco Workers, and Grain Millers International Union, abbreviated BCTGM, which I will say again. The reasons for the strike were that employees were working as many as 12-hour days, up to 7 days a week under mandatory overtime, which employees often referred to as suicide shifts. The wages had been stagnant for 15 years, and the new contract that they voted down only promised a low merit-based increase of up to 2%. Some union members had said their wages had only increased 77 cents per hour in the last 12 years, which if you figure in inflation, that means they have severely, their wages have severely decreased over the last 12 years. So the first thing you have to know was that the labor leadership and Frito-Lay negotiated a contract that the labor leadership recommended the union membership vote yes on. Union membership voted no. They were like, no, that's not enough, because there wasn't anything that guaranteed that they wouldn't work 7 days in a row.
So let's specifically list the demands that were presented in this original.
Well, according to Frito-Lay, the original contract had actually included labor reductions, and again, we stated that the original one had a low merit-based increase of up to 2%. Mm-hmm. That was what the union membership suggested the union members vote yes on. They voted no on it. Frito-Lay put out a statement, which was them basically trying to drive a wedge between union leadership and the union membership by saying that the union membership rejected this fully recommended agreement suggests union leadership is out of touch with the sentiments of Frito-Lay employees. They go on to say things like, I love this. Like they say, we will continue to be attentive to the situation and welcome any employees who wish to continue to work as they are legally entitled to do so, which is just so nakedly like they want the union members to hate the leadership and to like Frito-Lay.
Yeah.
Like Frito-Lay, we proposed this thing and you guys didn't want it.
Yeah.
And it's like, no. So this was the first strike since 1973 that this union has put on.
Yes.
Like 60 years about, give or take some. And so union leadership probably just thought, this is probably as good as we're going to get.
Right.
We're not going to be able to pull off a strike.
We have to settle for this. Let's fucking do something and just vote yes on this. And if we push for more, they're not going to improve at all. So something's better than nothing. Let's just do it. Workers said no.
The workers were like, fuck that.
Yeah.
So what happened was over 400 of the 600 members voted no on this contract. And as such, the entire 600 members went on strike. There were no scabs. They just all withheld labor. And union leadership, just to be clear, supported the workers and helped plan this thing and make it go forward. The strike was really popular. Like local media was covering it like this. Community members, businesses show support for Frito-Lay workers on strike by donating food and money to pay bills. So both community members and businesses, like other businesses in the
like
area.
Small business owners
were donating money to this strike. They raised enough money that they were able to distribute $70 to every single person in the union for their water bill for the month. They got a lot of food that was directly donated. They were able to distribute that to union members. They were on strike for 20 days, and Frito-Lay relented. They won. They got a guaranteed day off of work, and they got double that raise. It was going to be a merit-based 2% raise. They got it up to 4%, which is, to be clear, not like a huge raise or anything, but it's double what they were going to get.
Listen, though. The main difference between this and the general strike that we're talking about on October 15th and the academic one that we talked about in the fall or last fall, here's the difference. None of those 600 workers scabbed because, one, they fucking knew about it.
It was an organization.
It was an organization. And two, being an organization, they had the support, like Peter said, even of the leadership who encouraged them to say yes. And they had the support of their communities because they had organizational support that ensured that even if it did fail, they would be provided for in this time that they were striking. And it didn't fail, and it worked, and it was great, and they were able to persist in doing that because they had institutional backing through their union.
So could these spectacles calling themselves strikes push people left?
What does pushing people left even mean if they're not encouraging things that materially benefit people? What does it mean if more people say, I'm a leftist, if they're not doing leftist things? Like, I don't understand. It's the same with the shifting the Overton window thing that we were just talking about.
We were just talking about this in the car. Like, the idea that you can be more left or whatever, it's metricizing left. It's making it into a quantitative thing, leftism into a quantitative thing. And what it is it has to be qualitative. We have to be talking about something that is a different paradigm. Like we were talking about how incrementalism,
or posing the dichotomy between like incrementalism or reform versus revolution in the way that people apply it contemporarily makes it such that we're thinking of, well, it's not just that we need a little bit of change. We need more. We need more change. We need bigger change. That's not what the focus is. It's not just more and more and more of a like qualitatively small difference. We're looking for something that is categorically different than the economic base that we have.
Getting people educated and understanding what kind of qualitative changes are necessary in the world as opposed to quantitative ones, and stop viewing politics as some form of like metricized, like you can get more lefty points and be further left.
Well,
like that's not important.
Pushed left implies a continuously quantitative difference, whereas developing class consciousness is a qualitative shift. You're either class conscious or you're not. You can get more left and more left and more left, and it can mean nothing. You can still vote for Nancy Pelosi. You can not force the vote. You can be late to.
You can have your sit-in the day after it's important to have.
Yeah, you can stage your spectacle and then not actually do anything in the role that you're assigned to represent your constituents. That's getting pushed further left. You're either class conscious or you're not. You're either first or you're last.
Basically, what you need to do is take notes on the FritoLay Strike and start ignoring these individual actions that people are pushing on social media. I have for years told you, like, hey, you know what? Not buying shit on Prime Day doesn't actually do anything. It goes the same with just calling into work, staying home and playing Grand Theft Auto. It's not a fucking strike. It's not a meaningful action. It doesn't exert power on the structure. You need to do things that actually assert some sort of power against the structure.
And it's so upsetting to see like people say, oh, well, you saying that an ineffective thing is ineffective is defeatist. No. It's encouraging you to stop focusing your attention on things that don't work and focus it into something that does. The reason people think that it's defeatist is because it's not immediately gratifying to them. It's so immediately gratifying to say, oh my God, I'm one of 17,000 people who signed this petition. I'm so awesome. And I'm going to stay home that day. And you know what? I'm really doing something helpful for workers. All I have to do is just click this petition, sign my full signature, and then not show up to work on October 15th. I'm amazing. I'm a labor organizer. I'm a communist hero. No, when somebody says that doesn't work, that means get your head out of your ass and start organizing to something that's meaningfully going to change what's happening in your workplace, what's happening in your community, even if it fucking sucks and takes a long time. And even if it takes the labor of organizing an institutional front to support yourself and your coworkers and the working class itself when you're doing these types of things. It's because it's not instantly gratifying. It doesn't instantly make you feel good. Strikes are not to make you feel good as an individual. That's not defeatist. That means this strategy does not work. That doesn't mean that another one doesn't.
Yeah.
Where people are actually focused on material interest, conditions, and workers.
And organized.
Yeah.
I'd also quickly recommend, if you want like a fairly info-packed video, there's a channel on YouTube called Ghost in the Ohio that did a video on the general strike. The information they put together is very good. That's all for today. Thanks again for watching. This is Packed. I'm Peter. This is Miss Astronaut Cowboy Doctor. To help us out, click like, follow, subscribe, whatever. Leave us 5-star reviews on Apple Podcasts and Audible. To support us, become a patron at patreon.com/PeterCoffin. Thanks so much, guys. We'll see you later.